In this video, we're going to look at the Agentic AI roadmap mastery on how to transition in excess of $300,000 plus jobs as an administrator, architect, developer, BA or QA, or technical project manager, program managers who wish to upgrade, upskill, and transition into the Agentic AI kind of a job roles. I'll be sharing my proven three-step frameworks, which have been tried and tested myself and hundreds of individuals like you to in order to design, develop, deploy, test, and more important, scalable agentic AI-based solutions into their enterprises and helping them into getting a highly paid jobs as well. So with that, first we're going to look at and say what we're going to learn here. I'll be sharing my proven tested three-step framework, which will take you to being not confident to how to go and super confident. We'll be taking two things, which is project-based learning as well as the relevant certifications. Then once you're confident, we'll take you how to go from a not getting interview calls to getting multiple interview calls on a weekly basis. And that we're going to do how to perfectly craft your resume and then optimizing your LinkedIn and also how to write content to build your authority. So not recruiters, but you don't reach out to recruiters, but recruiters start reaching out to you and employers start reaching out to you. And once that's done, once you start getting interview calls, how to transition in from that to getting a multiple job offers. That's what we're going to cover on this three-step framework. So first, we're going to look at step number one, which will look and talk about the Agentic AI skill stack that you need to build so that you become confident on that. I'll also be sharing this my 8-step roadmap to go from beginner into becoming an expert on. We'll look at that. So on all of these steps, we are going to look at how do you learn by actually implementing, because these days employers look for actual implementation knowledge. So foundation and building your first stage or first kind of agents. Then we'll look at onto line graph and multiple workflow patterns on what those are and how you should be building them. We'll look at some of the projects on in order to build that multi-step agentic workflows, including things like projects like compliance report and so on. Then you should also be familiar with multi-framework agents. There are different tools or frameworks are available. How do you develop depending on the requirement? We'll look at this, that step number 4. Step number 5, which is becoming big these days, is context engineering and evaluations. So how do you do the 3 layers of evaluations, including what context engineering means and how it's different from fine tuning and things like that. We'll also then, step number 6 is going to be guardrails, and security is big important, especially when companies are implementing the agentic AI based solutions. So how does security and guardrails, including MCP, which is model context protocol, to connect agents from across different organizations or within your organization from one department to another department, or A2A in a multi-agent frameworks. How do you one agent talk to another agent, A2A protocol and MCP protocols. And then finally, once you have developed it, your operations guy or SysAdmin guy or LLM Ops guys, or now these days AI Ops guys, how to deploy them right from not build just doing on Jupyter notebooks, but actually taking them into a CI/CD environment and then deploying, creating containers and Kubernetes based applications, and then deploying on cloud-based applications as well. And then what all projects you should be doing end to end. We'll be talking about these projects as well. You'll also be learning, or you should, by end of this video, you should also have clarity of what are the design patterns you should be mastering in order to become not only confident, but confidently go and speak in your interviews or implement these knowledge as well. We'll also talk about the certifications, and one certification which Microsoft recently released about Agentic AI Solution Architect. We'll talk about that as well. So that's step number 1, is going to be from not confident to becoming super confident. That's step number 1. Once we have explained that, then we'll look at the step number 2, from no interview call to multiple interview calls. And this is where, as I said, we'll be helping you, or I'll be guiding you in terms of in this video, how to prepare your resume so that you get interview calls. How do you build your LinkedIn for your profile, and then authority by writing a content, which I'll be giving you some examples so that you start looking. And then finally, if you're a developer, then also build your GitHub repo, how you should be building so that you get, once you start getting interview call, in an interview, you can showcase them. That third step is only for developers. So we'll look at how to apply for the search for the jobs, what kind of a jobs you should be applying based on the different roles. So there are architect, engineer, technical project manager, program managers, testers, QA, different job roles are. And then crafting your perfect resume so that you get interview calls as well. And then what resume mistakes you're doing, which is costing you the job, which you're not getting interview calls. So like Kritesh, once he followed these steps, he started getting interview calls, so 6 screening calls and 1 interview call. Or what are kind of a LinkedIn profiles you should be focusing on, especially there are 13-point checklist, but the three are important. Make sure that you've watched that or listen to that. It's step number 2. Also, LinkedIn optimization tips on headline and about section are very, very important. That grabs attention of a potential recruiter and employers. We'll look at that. How do you post content like these, like Eddie or Shrikant or Anmol? And we've trained and coached hundreds of individuals like two, so that recruiters start reaching out. If you look at the things, Jesse mentioned that as soon as I did that, recruiters start reaching out to me, or Michael, or Prashad will see some of these things as well. And if you're a developer, as I said, you should be posting content. So that's we'll be talking about as a developer creating your GitHub repos as well. Once you start following this, people or recruiters will start reaching out to you, and then or you will be reaching out to the potential dream job. And once you start getting interview calls, then we look at how to convert that interview into actual job as well. So that's what is interview skills. This part I'm going to give you a interview questions, and towards end of this video we'll be talking about the interview questions. You can get these interview questions, how you can get hold of these interview questions, with somewhere in the middle we'll be talking about, so that you go from not confident to super confident, like Roni, who followed the same steps and started feeling confident, or Amol, whose profile shortlisted for multiple interview calls and eventually he got a job as senior system engineer as well. We'll also said make sure you watch till end, and somewhere in the middle I'll drop a link to download the realistic interview questions, like, and it'll be categorized in different sections depending on what job role you're playing. If you're playing an architect role, then the interview questions will be different. If you're a developer, the questions will be slightly different. But underlying concepts which are mentioned, you need to learn, understand, and then focus based on your job role that you're playing. Then you have Agentic AI for operations part as well that you see if you're working on. So if you've worked as a DevOps or operations or sysadmin, that will be very, very useful, especially from a LLM Ops, Agentic AI Ops. These are new job roles that are coming. So this is very, very important or useful, will be useful for you. Then if you're a project manager, program manager, technical project manager, technical program manager, or leadership roles, there'll be different questions as well. If you're coming from a testing background, QA background, the way you test the agentic AI based applications or AI based applications will be different than your traditional software engineering. So we'll be giving that as well. So I'll be summing up and sharing these questions somewhere in the middle. So make sure that you watch carefully and grab that interview questions guide as well. Now, this is what I was talking about. This will be talking about 3-step framework to go from complete beginner or beginner in AI. I'm talking about. You should be having some little background of AI, or so not AI, but technical knowledge, or coming from some IT background. So how to get this 300 or in excess of 300,000 plus jobs? Looking at step number 1, becoming an expert. Step number 2, creating your resume, LinkedIn profile, and finally implementing. So you can copy paste this and implement for years. Now, this is, as I said, tried and tested method, and I will have hundreds of success stories like people have implemented, followed. This is the exact framework people have followed and been doing it Agentic AI for almost now a year now, since it's very, very early infancy. And the version you're seeing is a 3.0 version of what we have incorporated, developed over a period of last 1.5 years. So SJ, not only her husband got a new job, she almost doubled her salary using the same framework. Or Shavik got a job as a senior enterprise architect. Steve got a job as an AI engineer. Debashish initially got a job as a cloud engineer, then later upgraded to AI engineer, transitioned that role. Or Kennedy in the UK got a senior technical advisor position. Or Dinesh got a job as a technical project manager, program manager. Narsimha got a job as a platform engineer. Malaya solution architect. Dranga secured a new job. Obina got a job offer. Winfried from Canada got a job in Canada. Gagan got a job in Accenture as a DevOps. Now he's working and preparing for these related roles. As I said, I'm not one, two, three, hundreds and thousands. In fact, last 7-8 years, we've helped to gain initially for cloud and these days now AI, agentic AI based applications or job roles. So that's tried and tested method that you'll see. Now, before we move forward, if you're meeting first time, why you listen me? I have close to 2.5 decades of IT experience. The left hand side you see is my LinkedIn profile. You can pause this video, take a picture, and then it'll take you to feel free to hit me on the LinkedIn so we can talk about these things. These are some of the clients I've worked with across the globe. I'm based here in the UK, but I've worked with clients like in US or Europe as well. So Royal Bank of Scotland in UK, ICC in Switzerland, DataVale in US, Genpact in US, WorldPay in here in the UK, Saudi Railways in Saudi. We've done a project, successfully implemented a project. Atradius on Netherlands, Hexaware in US, Tucson Electric Power in US, HP in US, Dell in UK, Toyota in Brussels, Rubicon, all these things, Imperial College, Rimini Street, you'll see them. I've done work with unlimited number of clients in last my 2.5 decade of IT experience. I've built a company and now I have close to 200, like 80 full-time team members and then 200 plus freelancers which I work with. I started my journey with earning less than $100 a month back in India, moved to UK, and then my first big break came in 2005 when I transitioned into security data from a security to then earning 425, 500, 700, 900,000, 900, and now in excess of £1,000 here in and working with multiple clients. So whatever you're coming, as long as you implement these, you'll get results. I'm tried and tested methods which I'm going to share here. Now, this is my whole journey. I started my as an Oracle DBA to security to data engineer to cloud, implementing cloud, and I have gone my ups and downs on that journey. So it's not going to be all hanky-panky good, but there'll be ups and downs. So my wish is that you follow the shortest path to the success. That's what we will cover in this video. Now, towards end, I'm going to give you two options to, if you enjoy this and if you can take away the whole thing. It's going to be the very lengthy video, so make sure you watch till end. But towards end, if you connect with me and if you want to work with us, I'll also give you an opportunity to work with the two options, which I'll talk about these two options. One is just simple upskilling, so that a lot of guys don't look for a job. They're already in the existing job. They're implementing for their clients on that. So that's mastery. Or if you need help with whatever we have done, so that you can shorten your learning curve as well as not learning curve, as well as getting those jobs, which will help. Make sure you watch till end this video as well. So first, I always begin. I'm go a little bit fast, but please feel free to pause and listen sometime again. Or if I'm going slow, maybe fast forward, play it in 1.5x or 1.25x and so on. So first and most important, I always begin with why. In my journey, all the time, I've been constantly upgrading. Every stage I've transitioned into because things in IT keeps changing. Initially, from my database administrator days to security, to then data engineer, data architect, to cloud, multi-cloud DevOps, and nowadays, last 5, 6 years, we've been AI, machine learning, agentic AI, generative AI initially, and now agentic AI. So, because market is shifting, yes, there are job losses. There are, in fact, if you see in first big 2008, I survived that 2008 meltdown. Then in January 2023, just after the COVID opened up, there were more than 100,000 job losses in that January first month itself. And then within this, I'm recording this in March, mid-March of 2026. And by the time, within that first, probably around 2 months only, 2 months only, 52,000 jobs has been lost. Now, the primary reason for the job losses are companies are relocating resources towards AI. All the big things, they've realized that whatever I could do, my AI agents, agentic AI can perform these much, much better. And that's where most of these jobs are transitioning in towards AI. And within AI now, initially, machine learning back in 2020, 2021, then generative AI in 2022 onwards. And now last 1 year, we've seen everything is moving towards agentic AI. So market, if you look, it's growing year on year, 38.6% growth, and there are tons and tons of jobs. 1.3 trillion market size on AI, and there are hundreds and thousands of jobs in AI, whether it's whether it's US, Canada, UK, Europe, India, whatever, or Middle East or Singapore, whatever the country you are watching this, definitely there are jobs available. And with that, jobs on AI jobs, underlying you need some infrastructure to run, you need the storage to run, and there's no better solution than cloud. Companies have realized that these things require some underlying infrastructure, and then infrastructure is growing rapid, or new things are coming within infrastructure like compute, services, and storage, and that's where cloud plays the key. So the whole theme we're going to see is about cloud and AI, implementing of that AI on cloud. Cloud is growing rapidly. So I started my journey in cloud in 2011-12, and there's no looking back. So with AI, you learn cloud combination of both AI and cloud. And that's what you're going to see in a little bit later in the session, how cloud and AI are closely related as well. If you look at the market size, market explosion, 7.5 billion market size projected to by 2034. Just alone agentic AI market I'm talking about. Um, sorry, in 2025 was 7.5 billion, and then in 1.199 billion, it's a huge market, as I said earlier, 2034 as well, growing 44%. I'm talking now with respect to agentic AI, 986% job growth role in last year alone from 2024 to 2025 in agentic AI roles. Now, as per Gartner, 40% of enterprise apps will be in embed AI agent in some form of other by end of 2026. So it's not very long time. And only 2% are deployed at scale now out of that big window. And there's a lot of security, a lot of roles on deployment, scalability. Any job role you see, it's going to be agentic AI as well. I hope that have sold you enough to move into the transition. I always first do myself. I've done these myself, and that's why I keep coming back on. If you don't upgrade yourself, it's very, very critical. And because you're watching this video, I think you already know and aware that is important and critical for you. That takes me to the second part, important part. Once I know why I should be learning, what is in for me, and that's where what kind of a salary I can expect. Now, salaries will differ from country to country and the role to role and your experience. And the most important is how confident you are in that earning that salary. And that's what we coach and train is in terms of how do you to be confident, super confident to demand what you're worth or a lot more than what you even worth at the think, because you don't realize how much powerful you become once you learn all these things. So if you look at salary for manager or leadership roles, I'm talking about is in 2026, the compensation I'm talking about is US, Canada, UK, but the same thing will be applicable within your respective country as well. So more is 300,000 to 850,000 for CIOs or CXOs level. VP of machine learning being 395 to 626. Average is 395,000, but 200 to 620. And you do your research, you will see these numbers. Head of director machine learning, average is 360,000, 250 to 580,000. And I'm telling you because we've helped individuals like you to get results or these kind of salaries. There's a Canada, same thing in the Canada on ranging. If you see 150 to 250, and 300 is quite good compensation as well that's available in Canada. Then similarly, if you going for cloud architect or AI salary for AI/cloud architect, because as an architect, you'll be doing not only just AI, but how to deploy this AI on solutions cloud as well. So average is compensation between 180 to 400,000. And then some demand is quite good, depending on within architect level as well, what kind of a architect, senior architect or junior, mid-level architect, or just entry into an architect. Compensation will differ, but damn good salaries. So base salary 140 to 206,000, total compensation in this range that you see. And if you go with big companies or among companies, they say Meta or Facebook or Amazon and these companies, there are a lot of good paying jobs as well. On an average salary in US on 150,000 to 180,000 average salary, but companies pay pretty damn good. Entry level 100 to 130,000, mid level 130 to 80,000, senior level 180 to 250. And again, on similarly for agentic AI developer salaries, damn good, 120,000 to over 400,000 salaries. Junior agentic AI agent developer, you should have the knowledge, 120 to 160. Mid-level AI agent developer, 160 to 220. Senior, 220 to 320, and then principal or senior developer, 320 to 450. Now, when I give these numbers, people have their own limiting beliefs. They don't believe because they've not believed. And this is what exactly happened when I was working on myself on career. When I was in 2004 or 2000, first of all, 2004, I never believed someone will pay 425 pound a day. This is the salary, which because I had my own limiting belief. Then I realized, oh, no one will pay 500, 700. So this is 700. Then I realized 900 is 1000 is above reach. Then I saw someone house subcontracting through a big consulting firm to end client who was a banking client, and they were charging in excess of probably close to 2,500 pounds in the UK per day rate. And that's what I realized my worth was. So I started increasing my rate as well. So if anyone tells you or says it's not possible, it's you, your own mind, or the guys who have limiting beliefs as well. Because, and some of you guys already watching this might already know this, you're earning this as well. Similarly, if you're working on operations, SysAdmin guy, DevOps background, AI, machine learning, cloud ops, agent ops. These are the job roles that are coming. And again, average from 130,000 to 300,000. Now, some exceed in excess of 350,000. For that, you need to know the knowledge of ML ops or serialized infrastructure, both cloud, CI/CD, DevOps, and ML ops related jobs. Now, check these depending on, again, there's no income claim I'm making on this video, but it's possible. People have done it. You have to put in an effort to get results like these as well. Now, with that, we're going to move into the part about agentic AI. So I hope I've got enough, you got enough why you should be learning and what kind of a salaries you need to learn and understand. Now, before I go and look at the points, first thing is in order for agentic AI or a mastery roadmap, you or whosoever will be first designing, collecting the requirements, that's your business analyst or BAs or working, someone who's working closely with stakeholders and someone designing uh, collecting requirement and have a end use case. We'll see some of these use cases a little bit later in the point. Then someone will be designing, which is your architect who will be designing these. And then your developers, you as a developer will be building. So these will be the way you do in software development lifecycle, same agentic mastery. And that's what we're going to learn on phase by phase. So once you're built or developed, then you're going to do something called as evaluations so how those evaluations work? Because you estimated that my agentic AI or AI agents will be doing a particular thing. How is their performance? How is their response? Have they done what they're supposed to do? So some evaluations, we'll be looking at that. And then once done, you'll be packaging it the way you did in software on here, packaging it and deploying on a CI/CD automated manner. So deploy and then security is big important thing, secure. And then once that's done, then how do you scale that? That's what you need to be learning end to end. And that's what we're going to look in this particular video. Now with that, let's first look at the evaluation or AI evaluation. I'm going to be very, very fast on high level because I want to do, my objective is to put this video within 1 hour. But again, jump on a specific part where you want to jump, but make sure that you watch it again thoroughly or maybe save this because this is very, very important to for you to understand the bigger picture as well, because that's what will be helpful on the interviews or to have the full picture as well. And if you can't watch this whole video, you don't need to, like I personally, with all love, um, put in effort and sit down and watch that carefully. So with that, first is before I go and talk about this whole mastery, it's important to see for you to understand where it's coming. So traditionally, AI 1.0 was more about machine learning, old AI part, and then machine learning, and a little bit of deep learning as well that's being done. So there were external systems, and then it was more rule-based logic initially that started. Then in 2022-ish, or early 2021 if you worked on these companies. But 2022, we saw a shift on generative AI. That's when the ChatGPT became it very, very, make it very, very famous on where you're generating, you're still using deep learning models to generate using large language models. And that's where the creative, the responses that you get, the images, graphics, videos, stories, now even code you develop. So that's generative AI. And the age area we are looking right now or living right now is agentic AI. And last, maybe you started in 2024, a little bit late 2024, early 2025, agentic AI, which is now autonomous systems working together in order to do it as you say. You simply will be giving a requirement and they will be doing it for you as well. So now we are from generative AI to now AI that or AI agents that work autonomously for you. So this is what you should be focusing. Maybe a little bit of generative AI, but more focus about autonomous agentic AI based solutions. That's what you'll be evolving. So what are AI agents? Is the AI is this is important for you. Again, we'll go do basic to understand, and then we'll go on deeper in these topics or the roadmap. So typically when we talk about AI agent, nothing but it perceives or review or look at the things, then it reason, then it use tools, and then act autonomously for finding out a solution or responding to that thing. So for example, it'll in perception, I mean is it observes data, inputs, APIs, everything that it needs to know to understand. Then it'll use reasoning, which that's where it use LLMs, large language model to reason and find out, and then maybe create a multi-step strategies to resolve that particular problem that you've given to the agent. Then on once it done the reasoning and find out, then it's going to act. So it has to have access to the external tools, calls, APIs to actually act on your behalf. And then finally, it basically learns and improve, and so evaluate the whole situation and improve. So that's a simple terms AI agent. If I look at the AI agent, what's the agentic AI? That's common question people get is. So in simple terms, AI agent is a single entity, single task, limited tools, no collaboration. So you give it a thing, I'll give and get things done for you. So for example, in chatbot, you do something and it'll give you response back in a chatbot, or maybe, and that one could be multiple tasks that it can do, but a specific task it'll be doing. Now, whereas agentic AI system that you see here on, it's nothing but a orchestration of multiple autonomous works or workflows that will be doing and executing for you. So for example, if a claim, a multi-agent claim processing system, so you say, hey, submit my claim, or you client have submitted a claim for insurance claim, it'll go and talk to and look at the conditions, what are the filled in the claim, and then based on the response user is given, maybe have some more questions, and till the time claim is being either denied, accepted, reasoning, all those things are done, it'll be talking to multiple systems and giving a solution for you. This is a very simple examples of agentic AI. But then agentic AI is, in a simple terms, is autonomous systems, autonomous system building and giving a multi-step things which will be more than one agent and giving the solution for you. Now, in simple terms, if I say layman's term, you go on orchestra. If a single musician is an agent, and then someone who is managing this whole orchestra in terms of someone's voice, playing piano or drums or whatever, that whole orchestration of is agentic AI in a simple layman's term. Of course, as we move forward, you'll see more and more business use cases in this example of. Now, why it's important? This slide is very important for you to learn and understand. Agentic AI, it's like for you to be the sweet spot, you should be learning and understanding is first is agentic AI, generative AI, and cloud. What when I say generative AI being done, as I said, from 2021, 2022 onwards, large language models, knowledge of that. Prompts is you asking something, and there are different type of prompt engineering. And the whole framework of prompt is very the whole thing, environment, prompt environment, and prompt management itself is a topic in itself. Then a RAG, which is a retrieval augment generation, where you give your knowledge base and then providing understanding of that your customer specific data, because LLMs are frozen in time or the data. So it may not know on your customer specific things or your specific things or client specific things. And the LLMs, they are trained on a particular timeline of data. You have to retrain them if required. And that's where the RAG comes into picture. Embeddings for that broken down to smaller chunks and then put it into something called as vector databases. Another important thing we have to learn. And then so that my LLMs can use my custom data, and then structured output and building, how do you build. So that's generative AI, which is a, maybe I'll say, early stage of 2020, 2021, sorry, 2022 onwards. Then agentic AI, that's what you're going to learn, which is orchestration, tools, multi-agent, frameworks, memory, evaluation, guardrails, security, scaling, all those things you should be learning. And once you have these combination of these two, you need something to deploy somewhere. In on-premise world, it becomes very challenging these days, the way you do things. So that's where the deployment comes into. This is where deployment, scaling, and this is where containers, Kubernetes, observability, and then tools like in AWS you have a Bedrock, SageMaker, or in AWS or Microsoft Azure Cloud you have a Foundry, or Microsoft or Google you have Vertex AI, or Oracle agentic AI solutions, OCI agents, and so on. So all these cloud providers these days provide. So you have to have the understanding of generative AI, agentic AI, and cloud. These three are important things. Now, I keep coming back to cloud as well. So this alone, agentic AI system alone will not be. You can learn and do, and you should be good. But in order for you to earn that good money, you have to have the cloud knowledge as well, because when you getting responses, that's where scalability comes into picture. Scalability will come from deploying solutions which can scale up and down based on the requirement. You also will be looking for managing these large language models. So you need a mechanism to invoke and call these models based on the requirement. So ability to do that. Then containerizing them, creating them into containers and deploying them, or logging, monitoring, observability, how they're performing. So tools like LangSmith or LangFuse, or for tracing cost, tracking, and then latency analysis. And then finally, security plays a big role in terms of guardrails, PII, personal information, prompt engineering, injection safety, and so on. So in order to go 360-degree view, cloud plays a big role. So that's very important. Now, this is the agentic AI skills. And with that, I'm going to talk about is I'm going to take second shift, which I'm going to point about layer 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's look at this agentic AI skill set now from here. In terms of agentic AI, the bottom layer you need to be working on is the layer 1, which is Python, APIs, and prompt engineering. And in Python, if you're a developer, then you're going to all in on those Python related. If you're someone like me who's an architect or being an administrator or infrastructure part, then you need to know enough to talk about libraries, frameworks. These days with the tools like Cloud Code or ChatGPT, you can build and develop and study the code very quickly and easily as well. Now, prompt engineering is the underlying pin for everything in terms of AI, agentic AI, generative AI. So different form of prompt engineering like chain of thought, tree of thought, zero shot, long shot, lot of prompting mechanism and how what a good, bad, and very good prompt or brilliant prompt look like, because everything that we'll be using in prompt. Then layer 2 is all about RAG, retrieval augment generation, and there is a concept of fine tuning, but fine tuning is expensive affair. You should know and understand when to use RAG, when to use fine tuning, and there is now the context window as well and things like those. Then for doing the RAG, you'll be having a vector databases, which is your store for knowledge, embedding models. Now, again, I'm talking a lot of jargons here right now, but those are the things you should be learning, understanding the basic things. So those big documents broken down to smaller parts and then stored into a vector database so that your LLM's large language model can connect and talk to and review that data. So that's layer 2. Layer 3 is all about agent frameworks as well as the workflows, orchestrations, multi agent orchestrations, and then frameworks based on the business use cases that you do. And once you know that, then becomes your evaluation, security, observability, guardrails, all those things that you need to know to protect and making sure that your agents or AI application is production ready. And on top final is about deployment, and then deployment. These days, a lot of these deployments happen on using containers and Kubernetes, microservices deployed on built into a containers and running on underlying infrastructure as cloud. So cloud, whether AWS cloud, Azure cloud, or whatever cloud of your choice with containers things. So these are the 5 main agentic layers you should be knowing and understanding as well. So again, as I said, the existing knowledge will be helpful and then you can pick some of the cloud service provider tools like Bedrock on AWS cloud or Foundry on Microsoft Azure cloud, SageMaker on AWS cloud, ML Studio on things. Understand what these models are, how you invoke and build on your applications or use them in your applications. And especially if you're coming from a data background, you already have the or knowledge, or you should be picking, if you don't, the data pipelines, bringing the data, because that will be ultimately adding into your machine learning pipelines or agentic AI based applications, because data will be the one which will be building or leveraging a lot of these things. How do you integrate with, as I said earlier, vector databases, RAG, and so on. So the existing knowledge will definitely be helpful on this. Now, if you look at the like these 8-step learning path to go from a complete beginner to agentic AI, I'm going to go very high level for now here. First and most important is the foundation should be very clear on. If you look at when I talk about the foundation part, what I mean by is that this is what you need to be understanding and conceptually you need to be learning. So as I said, the step number 1, foundation, is very important, and the whole thing we learn and teach by actually implementing. So this 8-step framework has been taken from our program where we go and help understand, and everything is actually implementation based. So what you should be doing is you should be creating your first agent, and on that agent, first thing we do is using a multi-provider LLM setup. What I mean by that is that agent should be able to pick whatever LLM based on its requirement, reasoning, or based on the requirement given by the user. It'll picking up. It could pick up a large language model from OpenAI or Grok or Gemini or Anthropic, so that you should have first APIs configured and with an option to go and talk to these, and then also something called as routing. How do it selects and say which model to pick based on the requirement that agent has. Then you should also be available or understand the structured output with the pedantic models. So this is nothing but a library in Python, pedantic model. The output from a models can be very, very messy, and you want to put them in a structured format. So that's where this pedantic model will come and help you. Now you should also understand the prompt engineering or implement prompt engineering right from the basics like zero shot or few shot to React, a chain of thought and so on. React is reasoning and acting. That's what most of these agents a lot of times do. So understand that. Now, context engineering is something that you give to or LLM gets with the questions. So, or whatever LLM has the information, additional information that it requires, and that is where it picks up tokens. So you have to be very mindful of, especially when as application scales or your agentic AI agent scale, those you have to be taking care of the budget or the expense done by the tokens as well, very important. Also, you retrieve just in time the information required for your LLM to be passed to get you the best response to the agent. Also, rack retrieval augment generation pipeline, right from how do you chunk the data, the knowledge base that you have into then place them into create them embeddings, and then place them into vector databases, and then using fast AI search, similarity search, retrieve that information as well. And then using LangChain, which is a framework to build these AI agents, multiple tools that you can use, and then use patterns like React pattern, which is reasoning acting, as I said. So if you look at the diagram, you're typically for an agent, user will be making a query, and then LLM will make a reasoning, and then it might use some tools to retrieve for knowledge base or doing some calculation or some, in this case, calculator or web search, and then it's observe and then give the feedback to the LLM reasoning. And then if required, this chain continues or get a response and the user gets an answer. So the first thing you should do is build a simple AI agent. What it's going to do is, in this particular case, a wealth management advisor, which will be going and retrieving all the financial data on what's happening on the internet. And then based on that, we'll give you the recommendation. So you understand a basic AI agent doing all these things so that your cost of doing research, all those reduces, and it'll give you the output as well. So in that case, we'll be using LangChain as a framework and FAISS for my retrieval search, similarity search retrieval, and OpenAI as a model, though you can use other models as well. So that will lay down, if you do this probably now in 3 to 4 hours, that'll set you the basic foundation and build your first agent as well. So that's step number 1. Then step number 2 is you go for LangGraph, which is another framework for multi-agent applications, LLM-based applications, multi-agent applications you're building, and then you look and understand the workflow patterns. So in the step 2 or module 2, you'll be going a little bit deeper into LangGraph, which is nothing but a framework for multi-agent or building multi-agent LLM-based applications or LLM-based applications, and then doing workflow patterns. So as you see in the diagram, there are 4 patterns. But before that, you need to understand from a LangGraph what is a state graph, nodes, edge, condition routing, so that when you actually use them in your building agentic applications, you understand what you're doing. So 4 patterns. First, here is a prompt chaining, and now so typical use cases might be that you want, for example, you picked up a resume, and then so with a quality check, so first prompt might be pick up the scales from there, and then step number 2 might be verify the scales, and then step number 3 is then against something. So these are one step after another step, as a diagram shows. Pattern 2 might be routing via the LLM classification. So you have take an example of a customer service agent, the request gets, and then it being routed based on what things is, if it's a product related, or if it's a refund related, if it's a pricing question or something else, maybe delivery part, so it will be routed accordingly. So these workflow patterns your agents can build. Or you have a human like parallelization or fan in, fan out. So user basically request goes and then given to different workers, and then they work together. So take an example of doing research work, and one person will doing research on this particular topic or second topic or third topic, or doing different places for research, and then research is given back to the editor, like suppose writing in magazine. So editor will give tasks to do different writers, and then they do the research and bring it back. Or you have a human loop in the loop where someone is actually a human intervention is required for approval or checks and so on. So human in the loop. These are some of the common workflows, but there are more workflows as well. So you do and build that. Also memory to retain in order for these agents or these steps to work, memory needs to be retained. So how do you do the memory savers, in-memory store and other things to maintain this memory as well? Now, everything will be doing by actually implementing or learning implementations. So this is you create a project, we'll be building or build a project of there'll be two main, based on these 8 steps, we'll be bringing two capstone big projects, and every lab itself is a project where you build something from a real world. So this particular caption project will be doing e-commerce support router, support things as you do in real use cases. So that will be building. First, we will be using some of these workflows here to build the different e-commerce support. Will be taking the request based on the feedback of the quality of the request, or the sentiment of the request. It probably might go to the human in the loop. It might go for parallelizing, and it'll definitely have a routing to say, based on the request, where should I send it to the support agent. So that will give you an idea about LangGraph, the workflows, and with that reminds me, there's a design pattern. You should also be understanding what are the design patterns and the workflows within agentic workflows as well. And many of them, as I said, React is very, very common. Swarm is again becoming popular for agent to agent communication, independent agents talking to each other, or supervisor kind of a agentic AI pattern. So understand these patterns and then actually use them to implement it. So that's step number 2 or module number 2. From there, you go and build actually a project, which is a customer support project, which I was talking about. So let me explain about it now. So within step 2, we'll be creating a project, and this project, as I said earlier, customer support project. So if you look at the diagram or workflow, the user will send a query. So we'll have first agent, which is a central supervisor agent. That agent will take the request and query and review what's inside the query used by the user. That will in turn forward it to one of these 3 agents, maybe order tracking. So if the request is coming for order tracking, it'll do the order tracking. If request is coming for returning any return item, it'll go to the return agent. Or if it's a recommendation, hey, I want to talk about this product, or can you recommend me, or can you suggest me based on these things, it'll go to the recommendation agent. Now, each agent will have its own knowledge base or vector database, as we call in terms of agentic AI, or it'll have its own tools, which is calling to APIs and other systems, or search and so on. And they will have maybe a centralized or their own specific knowledge base as well. So that will create a full-fledged project that will further extend and enhance as well. And if required, there'll be human in the loop as well. Will further enhance this project with human in the loop in future modules or future steps. Now you'll be using LangGraph, and we'll be using industry as e-commerce. So that will give you good idea about not only conceptually learning, but implementation. That brings me to the next, which is a project. Third project within the step 3 is about compliance and a reporting purpose. So in the compliance report, we'll taking into a finance industry. So this particular agent or orchestration will pick up and distribute that the compliance reporting to 3 different agents, worker 1, worker 2, worker 3. They will do their own research, and then after the output, they will be giving it to evaluator. Now, evaluator will do the quality control, quality check, and maybe give it to the revision to the respective workers, and then response will come max 3, or you can control and you can configure or define, and then once quality is passed, then it will be fully report will be published. So that's another example of this. So that will take us to the next step, which this is where step number 4, you'll be talking about multi-framework agent. So there are a lot of frameworks available. So let's talk about what this multi-framework agent development you should learn and understand. So there are different frameworks available for building agentic AI based applications. So you have Agent SDK software development kit from OpenAI, then also from a Crew AI, AutoGen from Microsoft. You also have a Google ADK. Google have introduced now its agent development kit. So understand what different these frameworks are, and then actually implement one of this using any of these tools. So for other projects, we're using LangGraph. In this particular project, we'll be actually developing using Crew AI. So in this, maybe a fintech industry for marketing department. So it'll go and create the research, the content that's specific to market that particular industry. Fintech in this case, you can use any industry, but fintech we're going to take as example. We'll give it to the writers, editors, designers who will work and together with each other in terms of then writing blogs, social media content, Instagram and other posts as well, and then visuals for fintech industry. So that's basically using developing or development using multi-agent framework in one of the implementations. With that, we'll go to the step number 5, which is context engineering and evaluation. So let's first explain you what that is and what you should be implementing. Now, when you're working with multi-agent or with an agent, the information that agent pass from one agent to another agent or within the context of that entire LLM-based application or agentic AI-based applications or generative AI applications, the information is very crucial role. You have a RAG, but with that, you also provide some additional information or information passing from one agent to another agent. So the context window plays a very big important role, and it's also the things are improving, but at the time of recording this, there's a big bottleneck in terms of performance bottleneck and the costing also associated with this context window. So how do you manage that context window in terms of there are different pillars? Prompts are one of them. You need to take care of that. Budgeting, retrieval, and how do you compact information on that and reuse some of this information as well? How do you save the tokens? How do you just-in-time retrieval of only the information that you need to pass on for that and then pick. So, and how do you reuse this information again without in the context of without or keeping your cost down as well. So that plays a big important role. And with that, you also have evaluations, agent level evaluation, RAG, retrieval, augmented generation based evaluations or LLM based evaluations. So upgrade whatever you did in the project earlier, you put in the context, add context engineering as evaluations on that project and enhance that project so that you have quality gates as well, or you get information is retained over a period of time in terms of security as well as across agent to agent communications that you do. And that is where we'll be evolving and improving on this context window. So that's step number 5. And then step number 2 comes all about guardrail security and then how these agents talk to each other communication as well. So let's look at that particular part, step number 6 or module number 6. So as you probably know, every enterprise want to make sure that the agentic AI systems they're building are secure. And for that, there are 4 main layers: input sanitization that will ensure that there's at the time of input, maybe the prompts that they're doing are safe and there's no injections or prompt injections, malicious prompt injections. So the way you have a SQL injections or HTML code injections and so on, so avoiding those. Then you have a PII information, personal identifiable information that you have to make sure that you don't reveal or be taken care of. So there are, how do you hide that information within from the communications across something that should not be revealed and out this. Also making sure that output is safe. So for example, for child safety, or it's not giving foul languages or something not revealing information that it shouldn't do output safety. And then of course, human in the loop, which human intervention is required to perform that. And now what you're doing is, so that's one part. And then how do these agents talk to each other within a system, agent to agent communication, which is A2A protocol. And then you have a MCP model context protocol, which is to connect one system to external system, how two different agents behaving in different environments talking to each other as well. So whatever we built earlier, you upgrade that on in from and including first of all these MCP servers and then also guardrails in place and put all these things as well so that your whatever system you built is GDPR compliant or HIPAA compliant and then have a full audit trail. Also, there is a zero leak of personal information which is required. And for that, we are going to use LangGraph, which is a framework which we discussed earlier, fast MCP implementation for model context protocol, Presidio tools like PII, protecting PII, and then LangFuse, which is a observability and logging, monitoring, tracing, everything in your AI agent-based application that you built. That brings us, once you've built all these things, have incorporated all this, and the final step is to deploy on production. So understand, have the familiarity of what this production deployment means. And again, as I said, depending on if you're a designer or architect, you'll be implementing all these things or designing these things. If you're a developer, you're developing that particular part. If in operations, this is where production deployment will come into as well. So let's look at what is production deployment means. So for that, maybe for testing purpose, you might be doing on a Jupyter notebooks, or if you have your IDE like Visual Studio Code or any tool that you use, from there you do code refactoring and integration, and then maybe you do a vibe coding and create use vibe coding and for the tools like Claude or ChatGPT, and then you do a testing API testing using Fast API, and then bundled everything into containers using Docker containers, and then put in front a Nginx, which is a reverse proxy, to access application deployed, this containers deployed on either EC2 or ECS or EKS, which is containers and Kubernetes deployment on AWS cloud. So this is where you go end-to-end deployment, and whatever you developed on the first 5 or 6 steps, then that will be deployed as a production ready as well, and you can then put into your GitHub portfolio and show it on your LinkedIn as well as GitHub profile as well. We'll be using Google SDK banking agent for doing some of these activities on yeah. So that's basically in a nutshell, simple everything right from uh, start designing to all the way implementation and production deployment as well. And with that, if we look at the actual end-to-end deployment on Capstone project, what you should be doing, this is what I'm going to talk about, is that you build everything with a big a project or Capstone project, so that you're ready in your resumes, in your LinkedIn profile, you start writing that you have done it. That's how your existing knowledge, what you have, to learn all these things quickly in a production kind of environment, so you can showcase as your proof of concept or implementation experiences here. So let's look at what this option project will be. So you'll be picking, depending on the industry you're working, there are the main use cases or the highest paying jobs are either in banking domain or healthcare domain. And of course, telecom and others are also paying good, but you pick one of the project, either you pick an option which is omni-channel banking support system that you'll be building for bank, or you're doing healthcare claim. So I'm doing, I have insurance and I'm claiming that, claiming. So build a project so that it serves the real business implementation, so they can put in your resume as an experience. Or you can go for another one, which is sales intelligence, which is where it will we are already, some of these things we are using for a different use cases within our business itself as well. So it will do a research for cold out warm leads, the dead leads we call, in terms of from a sales point of view, that users have in past inquired, but then agent will go and call these guys, of course, with the guidelines supported by the telephonic industry or respective laws, to call these through these leads to see whether they're still interested or take them off the CRM and so on. So sales and intelligence. There are a lot of use cases you can build now and are building, so you can put in a resume and experience. And of course, with that, you do other projects you will be doing. So this earlier, which I said, 7 steps, including 8th step, which is a capstone project. These are the various projects you'll be building. So some will be small, some will be extending on top of the previous project. So first project, which is about financial analyst for a RAG agent. This will be a beginner level. We'll be using FAISys, fast AI similarity search for RAG and LangChain. The second one is about customer support agent, which is we are using supervisor like workflows. So that is where intermediate second project. Third project is about compliance report, which will be doing a reporting for you, or content writing through Crew AI, which is project number 4. Project number 5 is about insurance claim using MCP, so that you understand. And then more advanced Google ADK, Agentic AI Development Kit, you'll be doing banking agent. And then, of course, full lifecycle project on 2 of those, or pick one of those 3 projects which I mentioned earlier just now. So this will give you the full confidence, so that you become from beginner to an expert who have done these things, and you can show in your resume as a proof of concept as well. So that's 7 framework. Now, if I look at from a 3-step framework, the first part which I mentioned is about doing project and learning and becoming an expert. That's step number 1. Then there are 2 steps which I'm going to continue here. So if you need any help on implementing what I've just mentioned, below this video there'll be a link. Reach out to my team, book a call to see how we can help you. If we can help, what is the right way of attending, and if you're right fit, we can help you or not. So that's the projects that you should be implementing if you want to become an expert on this. Now, as I said at the start, I'm going to give you 2 options, and this is something if you want to work on before we go to the second phase or second part on how to get or write your resume so that you get interview calls, or what once you get interview calls, how to prepare for your interviews so that you clear the interviews, and including LinkedIn profile so that recruiters start reaching out to you, employers start reaching out to you. I just want to highlight that if as I said at the start, there are two options. If you do work with us, maybe first option is to go mastery bootcamp, where you learn the technical stuff, whatever I mentioned, learn, help in implementing very, very quickly in couple of weeks, not months and months, and good for anything from 6 to 8 weeks, you should be able to master this in step-by-step manner. So first I'll talk about this, and then later part, if you want to go job focus, I'll talk about a little bit later towards end on this. So if you want to work with us, you get all these hands-on labs. On each of these modules will be hands-on driven, and then each of these you'll be building multiple projects. So we'll work, take that same project and we'll be taking up forward and extending and enhancing as well. So you can pick up any of these projects, or you bring your own project and say, hey, in your organization you're building this, can you showcase, or how do we implement this? So we are going to focus on banking, which is, or finance. This is where the maximum paid opportunities are, or healthcare, that's where industries are, also sales intelligence, but I might cover depending on your requirements, so bring those projects as well for you. So these are the projects we go and do extend, and you'll have end-to-end pipeline for these projects as you see. So if you want information, pause this video and look at that. So again, if you want more details, there'll be link below on this video that you see, for if you want to work with us on these projects as well that you see here. You'll be getting all these real-time projects. How do we work? We'll cover that before we move to the next part. Now, what sets this uh, uh, apart from other boot camps? And make sure that if you're considering others, watch the, or ask them and say, hey, do you do single agent APIs, or do you cover multi-agent as with all the different frameworks that are available in the market right now? From a design pattern, are you not doing just ad hoc prompt chaining, but you're looking at all the different design patterns, or 10 design patterns and the workflows which are mentioned earlier? Also, evaluation, are you using evaluation? Most of these programs are either just a evaluation focus, or no, don't have evaluations at all. So are you doing evaluations at all the three levels, LLM level, RAG level, agent level as well? From a security, very important, are they even covering security in depth, not just on a high level, superficial level, but 4 levels of security in terms of injection, on these LLM prompt injections, PII, safety, and then human in the loop. Also, from an observability, very, very important in terms of logging, monitoring, debugging, and that's where the tools like LangSmith, LangFuge, as well as the cost tracking, how as you scale, cost comes into picture, and how do you measure that costing as well, which thing is costing the cause of that costing. Then deployment, you're not using just a Jupyter notebook, but you're actually containerizing them, putting into Docker containers, deploying on either Kubernetes cluster on AWS EKS, or Microsoft Azure AKS, or Google Kubernetes engine, or using their platform uh, engines that are available, like for example, AWS has a Bedrock or SageMaker, or Microsoft has a Microsoft Foundry, or Google has a Google Vertex AI, and Oracle has an Oracle OCI agent, for whole framework and platform that they have. And so building not just one few APIs or scripts, but actually building the whole project as well. So that's what is. Now again, I only talk about project. You learn, theory is good and will cover and help you with the theory, but you need to also do the project-based learning, and that's what is not just theory, but actual full practical implementations. All that. If you go to the market, it'll be anything from a $2,500 to $3,000. Ours is a fraction of that. If you want to upskill, just upskill as well. Now, we also, quality is very, very important after each session, not after the batch, but every session we ask everyone to rate, and usually typically we get been running Agentic AI for last 1.5 years. So 1.5 years since when early inception of that, and we evolved over a period of time. So we get feedbacks like this, and on as you can pause and look at the screen as well. So this is a comprehensive Agentic AI Mastery Bootcamp, very comprehensive modules, project ready, as well as the frameworks that you'll be looking at as well. So there's a whole roadmap that you can either take it yourself, or work with someone else, or come and work with us if you want to learn this on here. Now, very quickly, and before we move to the second part, I know it's being almost 1 hour, and I'm going to go deeper into interview preparation, resume preparation, and LinkedIn preparation that you should be doing and following. So what makes us best, very, very quickly, you will get a weekly live interactive sessions where you can interested with the coach. Also during the weekdays, there'll be doubt removal sessions. You'll be someone helping you in implementing these. You'll also get help of support through WhatsApp. We have a close community on WhatsApp, And then anything that takes longer, accountability point of view, ticketing system that you get. Also extensive hands-on project and workshop you already have seen step-by-step videos. If you go to the second part, which is job focus, you'll also be resume preparation, interview preparation, unlimited mocks, outreach, how do you build authority, whatever I'm going to cover in the second part, we handhold you and guide you on those. And there'll be unlimited retake, which means as Agentic AI evolve, you will be getting all the updated content as well, unlimited. You can come back again and again over the next 1 year. Of course, we'll be constantly upgrading as well. And there'll be recording available so you can watch at a pace you're comfortable. And you are not the first one to come here. We have in the last 7, 8 years been done more than 46,000. So it's tried and tested. A lot of guys come through referrals as well. Now, these are some of the guys I've mentioned, like Shiva, support at the fingertips, support via WhatsApp. Staff is always available, so don't miss out any questions you have. Trainers are exceptionally good. You'll see that, and we have multiple experts teaching and in depth on. Also, we give some additional session or topics, free courses like, for example, containers and Kubernetes, or security, or cloud, or AI basics, and so on. So if you don't know those basics, come and speak to us. Also, support staff as well. So that's option one. Before we go on to the job focus, I wanted to cover this three-step framework, which I mentioned at the start, which we've learned in terms of becoming an expert, feeling confident. With that, I've covered hands-on lab, I've covered the project, but the third thing is certification. This is the overall picture you see. That's what I'm going to cover in the second phase of this video that I'm talking about. So with that, if you're new, there'll be some additional bonuses which will help you to go into this uh, going from not confident to super confident. So maybe if you're new to cloud, learn cloud is very, very important. Cloud basically service model, which is SaaS PaaS IaaS, deployment model, which is public private hybrid, the core concepts like region, availability zone, scaling, pricing, because as you design these things, that will be play very important role. How do you put high availability, disaster recovery, and so on. Then introduction to AWS, Azure, Google, and compare which one service will be using where, because most of these companies these days do now multi-cloud, and since 2018-19 I've seen the shift. Also maybe deploy a first cloud applications, and then do some basic security, identity access management, and so on. Then also go deeper into a little bit understanding of full AWS services, because you're going to deploy some of these things on cloud. So maybe as virtual machines, S3, storage, RDS, Lambda, VPCs, networking, and so on, users and securities, how do you implement them in AWS Cloud? And then Lambda, AWS Lambda, which is serverless function, and API gateways, which you'll be interacting a lot with APIs and databases. And then monitoring, logging, cost management, tools like CloudWatch, Cloud Monitor, API monitoring, and so on. So this is important from understanding. Same thing you do in Microsoft Azure Cloud, provisioning, subscriptions, resource group is important for those who are implementing. Those who are then containers, Kubernetes, you have Azure Kubernetes service, virtual machines, and then from a storage, because when you're bringing the data or building vector databases, open search to learn. And here you also have similar search databases for your RAG database, vector databases, blob, queues. And then from a networking, because you're deploying them and then interacting with other solutions, high availability, same disaster recovery, role-based access control. And then when look at the security, plays a very big role. So Microsoft Azure has a cloud security, which is Active Directory on cloud, which is earlier it was Microsoft Azure Active Directory, rebranded later as Entra ID. So your users, groups, and then the how agent identity, so that you can that when one agent talk to another agent, or you pass context from one application to another application, or within application one agent to another agent, that security context is being also passed. So understand those. Data is important in terms of data cleansing, data analysis, graphs, and SQL databases. So understand this. And then generative AI, agentic AI, or GenAI, AI, machine learning basics. So like supervised, different type of machine learning algorithms, supervised, unsupervised, reinforcement learnings, deep learning, DL networks, RNN, CNN, and all those of facade from a basic understanding point of view. So when you're leveraging and using them, you understand the difference. Now from a generative AI, as I said earlier, large language models, prompt engineering, context, long-term memory, short-term memory, vector databases, RAG, and then agentic AI, of course, you're going to learn from an understanding basics point of view. So with that, also there are tons and tons of Python job. Whether you're going for, if you're a developer, you need to know Python good, well and out. If you're an architect or administrator, learn from enough from a what libraries, what frameworks, what you should be doing. So Python is important. So things like if you're a developer, as I said, important is like the Python is NumPy, Panda, Matplotlib for data engineers. Similarly, for AI engineers, testers, there is a lot of Python available for. So understand TensorFlow, Keras, transformers, embedding, tokenization. How do you leverage in your coding and programming? When you're evaluating hyperparameters, tuning, deployment, understand those points as well. So we do give as a whole Python. So if you're a developer, as I said, go all in. If you're an architect, understand the libraries and frameworks, because when you're doing actual, once you've designed and implemented, you need to know how you're invoking these. So learn and understand these things. We also prepare you for the certification, which is certified entry level Python. Then Cloud Code, which is you give a prompt, a command. Claude is from Anthropic. They have developed this something called Cloud Code, and there are tons of part-time jobs, remote jobs, and hugely lucrative jobs are available, which companies want to implement. So what you need to be learning is understand cloud code, and then they also have MCP implementations, integrations, and so on, agentic AI workflows. This is additional bonus cloud code we give, and we help on end-to-end cloud code mastery roadmap. Agentic AI already mentioned, I don't need to repeat that, but also there are a lot of leadership roles, manager roles, technical manager roles, project manager, program manager roles on AI point of view. So there are tons of jobs available, whether in US, Canada, UK, whatever the country, or Europe, Middle East, Singapore, there are jobs available. So we give something additional for leadership, because the way you think is slightly different. So understand this from a leadership point of view, manager's point of view, and then you need to think about your prompt engineering frameworks, RAG strategy. And this is all more strategy driven, but understanding which strategy to pick and why, and also based on these things will change based on the requirement, based on the pricing, scalability, future vision, big company, how big the company is, also the kind of a background of the company, also which LLMs to pick, and so on. So whole strategy point of view, leadership link is in the below there. So we do something called as AI for leaders, manager, architect, that you get. In addition to these things we're talking about is building a roadmap for AI adoption, ROI. And then should you buy versus build from these use cases? You also need to worry about risks, ethics, regulatory compliance from a leadership or manager point of view. Now, which pattern do you pick? And you need to tie in with your existing deployments that you might be doing. Also, how do you lead an AI teams? How do you do the budgeting? How do you actually measure the performance so you can show the ROI to board or managers, senior managers, or leadership roles as well? So that basically will give you the 360-degree view. That brings me to the certifications, which is AI. Now, there are tons of certifications available. You get confused which one to pick. I've picked up the most popular ones is from AWS has AI practitioner. Then they have a second, which is for generative AI. They don't have a specific agentic AI or AI agent as of time of recording this, but right now that's being bundled within generative AI professional certification. There's a lot more agents based course updates going to happen. It's already there in generative AI Bedrock service. Now, as soon as new certification comes, you get that. But these are the two certifications. From Microsoft Azure, I think I highly recommend you Azure AI Fundamental. They've also incorporated from AI 900 to now new coming and announced. They announced a couple of weeks back only AI 901, which is their existing AI services on Microsoft Azure Cloud. With that, they've also added something now AI agent and Copilot and so all these services. And then they have AB 100, which is nothing but a agentic AI based solution architect. They've introduced specifically AB 100. If you want to go on solution architect, we provide you, we give you that as well. So AWS AI certification, mainly about managed service in AWS. You have a SageMaker, recognition, lakhs, and like that. There are pre-built services which are available, which you can use in your application on AWS Cloud. Then generative AI based solutions, they have Bedrock. They have also the pre-built models, cloud integration. They also have Amazon Q. And then responsible AI, one of the topics that comes in terms of principles and best practices. And then it also requires machine learning, data preparation, training, evaluation, and so on. So again, you can watch this. I'm not going to go deeper. There'll be separate videos coming in future about AI practitioner. You give we give you all the sample exam questions. There'll be multiple questions, there'll be multiple sets. So, and then explanation of all the questions and answers, so you know what question is right or wrong and why answer is wrong, so that you get results, you get quick results. Speed is the game now. You will eventually get certified maybe in a year or 6 months, but you don't have months now. You have weeks to clear these. And structured learning with everything step by step will help. So, for example, Venkat, Rudvesh, Yaver, Curve, Niharika, Manvik, there are tons of guys like you who have done this very, very quickly with us. Francis, AI practitioner, or Shikhar, being a director level, program management level, completed AWS AI practitioner. So then similarly, you do generative AI, that's a professional level certification on from AWS Cloud. As I said, this is where you'll go deep dive into Bedrock, models, agent guardrail, and then RAG architectures, fine tuning, multimodal AI, where you do more than one model, maybe image, audio, document, code generation, story writing, and a lot of other things. And then how do you do the production grade agentic AI, latency, cost optimization, and so on. Again, you get the same questions. And then tons of guys who've cleared this certification. Same as your AI fundamental. This is more about, is, as I said, AI 900. I'm not a recording on 901. That's coming in a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks away. So by the time you come, I'll be recording another video of AI 901. So right now it's more about is just AI in Azure, but new things are coming in 901 is about the agentic AI, Copilot, and the new things that are coming in Microsoft, AI world as well. This was talking about AV 100. This is for enterprise AI business solution architect. How do you implement as an architect or solutions as an architect on using Microsoft products? This is where you'll be doing things like MCP or A2A, and then integration with whole, I said, Foundry, or they have their own tools in that on Microsoft Cloud, as well as the Microsoft's own tools, as I said, Microsoft Copilot, integration with GitHub, or other solutions, the other product, Microsoft Dynamics 365 and or Office 365 and all the tools they have. And then of course learn with the projects. So that will make you with from no confident to super confident. Now again, you don't learn all in one go. You can learn step by step manner while you're preparing for interviews. So that's part number one, which is going from no, not confident to super confident. I know it's and then I'm going to go the remaining part as well. Make sure that you watch, because that's juicy bit is coming now here. So this is where you take step number two, which is going from no interview call to multiple interview calls. We call about two things, which is the resume and optimizing LinkedIn. I'm going to talk a little bit, and then a little bit give you, if you're a developer, third thing, which is you should be doing. So what you should be doing is, first, once you have a little bit idea, you don't need to wait for things to finish and learn and say, I'm going to become confident. You will trust me, I've done it myself, and I've coached hundreds of engineers like you. And every time we get people getting a job, we hear the same thing. They started learn, like applying a little bit early. So once you have the basic idea about what kind of a job to search and how to search, you should go and start searching for the jobs. As soon as the job comes, and focus, depending on job role. If you're a developer, focus on developer focus. If you're an architect, focus on architect focus. If you're a leader, a manager, technical project manager, program manager, that. So there are jobs available. If you're a tester, do that. If you're an operations guy, sysadmin guy, DevOps guy, look for LLM Ops, Gen Ops, AI Ops, that kind of a job role. So in this case, I've just picked up a role, AI developer. Make sure they spend thorough time, maybe at least 1 hour, reading every bit of this job description. And whatever you know, write down. And if you don't know, still write down, and then make yourself a promise saying that you're going to do a project or some implementation of some form of other, as long as you know that you're going to do it in next 1 to 3 months or 6 months or 1 year, next 1 year. Do write down and see where the gaps are and what you know, what you don't know. There'll always be gap. As long as you're 30-40% there, you're good enough to. So go through the job and update your resume based on the job description. Now, we give you all the templates. One thing, I'm going to cover some questions. One thing I say is, oh, I only know 50%, I only know 30%. And then I don't know remaining part, but should I write it or not to my resume? As long as you promise yourself saying that you're going to learn in next 2-3 days, how to learn, I've already given you those, use those projects, hands-on lab, and so on. So once you do that, you still write down, but make promise to yourself that before you interview, you will, whatever hands-on labs or projects you can do, you'll do, And but this resume should be aligned as per the job description. So these are templates you get. So this is, or maybe pause and then you can copy paste this particular template as well. Now, if you're our member, if you're part of the program, you already know we give you GPTs and we give you tools and we give you support as well and give you the feedback and review and constructive feedback on these things as well. So you'll be getting the whole review if you need our help. If you decide to come on to the second part, which I'll be covering in a minute here. Now, before I go, I'll tell you the common mistake which I've seen pretty much 80% of the problems might be one of these things for of which you're not getting interview calls. First is mistake number one, you have different job roles. Like if there are three job roles just for AI developer or AI architect or AI administrator or anything that you're doing, you try to habit of putting one single resume and put it or do very little changes, but you need to be your resume should be totally aligned as per the job description. So mistake number one. Mistake number two is not ATS compliant. If you're new, ATS stands for application tracking system. So all these companies go for tracking system, and before it goes to the human being, it the tool it'll go to and say, here's the job description, here's this particular resume, how much aligned it scores a number depending on the tool you're using or that company is using, and they'll say good to go to the human being or not. And so make sure your resume is ATS compliant. Some keywords you should definitely have aligned as per the job description. So very, very important, this thing. Third thing is mistake they do is they don't do relatable skills. And what I mean by relatable skills are they put so much stuff in the resume thinking, oh, that'll add. In fact, you should remove and just focus what's being required in the job description. Now, one question I again keep getting is, hey, what if I have two resumes now and employers get two resumes? And that happened with me multiple times. That's nothing wrong with that, and say, hey, I have done so much because in my 2.5 decades I've done so much. I've done so much. I didn't want to write down things that are not relevant to you, but I have done this bit as well. So remove things that are not relevant at that point to for that particular job role. So remove that, but very, very important for. And then not writing a relevant experience or not focusing or emphasizing it. Your first page should have everything that an employee is looking for in terms of, for example, they're talking about LLMs. What LLMs? And and then RAG, they're looking for example, or DevOps concepts, containers and Kubernetes, and then some agents, SDKs. Write down those things in your job if that's demanding, especially the first page. So as soon as someone sees and say, yes, this is the guy I want, I will tell you how to resolve and say how to then clear interviews on that point. So make sure that you write relevant experience in that whatever you're doing right now, there's a high probability you can put some kind of a showcase. If you're doing front end developing front end back end UI development, you can club together that within AI relevant experience. Now make sure you do the project, because once you see in interview, once, because if you follow what I'm talking about, you'll definitely get interview calls, but then you'll be then grilled on that interview on that resume that you've built. And that's what the second part which I'm going to cover in a minute. The mistake number five people do is that they don't do the follow-up. And what I mean by follow-up is that they simply submit and say done. No. So first you need to do is, who is the recruiter or employer? This is a screenshot I've taken on one of the job portal, and probably around 50%, not every job will have will they will open up who the contact person is, but majority of job, especially if you're going on LinkedIn, so you should be able to see those who is the person who's advertised. So go to the job portal. If there's a name, you know the company name. So in this case, Nigel Frank and then Avi Ellison. So you go and search on LinkedIn, and you should be able to find out with these two very, very quickly these days. You have their phone number, you have their email number, address, and of course, once you've done that, this is another example I've seen. Make sure that you connect with them on LinkedIn, because you won't, every time you write something or they something, they should be able to see your comments, and they should be able to see what you're posting, and they should get notified multiple times. So connect with as many recruiters and with on LinkedIn. We do a list of all the recruiters and employers that we have. And now prepare a message on LinkedIn, and very short to the point, very specific to what you're applying. This is an example of message, so that it opens up, because they get tons and tons of messages. So follow up, and then cover the same thing via email and the job portal. Job portal has an facility to cover letter, and you can do the follow up as well, and then email. Most of these job portals, they allow these things. We cover all these things, and part of weekly resume clinic, we help and guide if you're not getting interview calls, what you need to do, what mistakes you might be doing. So come and speak to us. And that's how Kritesh was able to get one interview call he already got 6 screening calls and one interview call out of which. So we run something called as job challenge every now and then, 2 weeks, 1 week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks job challenge where we guide everyone to write a resume and then apply. And so I applied for roles daily and received 6 interview calls and first stage interview. And then once you see others are doing, you start doing. Accountability is the key. So inspiring takeaway and use these to see how others are doing so you can do as well. And was realizing that continuously effort truly creates opportunities. So I'm staying consistent. If I stay consistent, it'll keep my hopes alive. I'm committed to continuing this journey and hopeful that I'll secure the right role soon. This is an example of what you'll be doing. Another example, Roni, not confident to apply to super confident and saying, although I've not secured a job yet, I feel much more confident in my interview skills. This is before, and it's now very, very happy to provide confirm I got a job as well or into yeah. So resources you provided in preparing for the mock interviews and help me to build stronger foundation, key concept, and mock interviews have been useful. So hopeful that with my continued effort, I'll land a role soon. This is the kind of a thing. Is confidence is very, very important. So if you follow, which I'm going to cover in second part of interview, how do you do that? Amol is updating my resume and preparing for the interview questions tailored as per the job description. This is key, tailored to the job description. And then boosted my confidence in my job search, made me feel well prepared uh, when you go interviews, you feel nervousness or not confidence is because you're not prepared for that particular thing. So I've given me motivation to apply, refining my experience to align with the potential job roles. I'm much more now enthusiastic, optimistic, and applying for the new opportunities. My profile has been currently shortlisted for 2 organizations like that. And then eventually, Amol, finally, happy to share that I've secured a job as a senior system engineer. Yeah. So I hope it gives you enough to trust the system. That's first part was resume, and the second part is LinkedIn. And within LinkedIn, there are two parts, two support part. First part is you to build your profile so that someone sees and say, yeah, this is the guy I want. This is the right person for me. So there are 13-point checklist, but 3 or 4 are very, very important. Headline plays a big role because that's what you see. The summary plays a big role. That's what you see. Skills and endorsement is when once they like, then it start going down. So headline summary is the most important thing in my view that you should play. And of course, skill endorsement, the order then changes. Okay. So how does a optimization or LinkedIn tips are heading I was talking about? So what your headline should have is it should include things like role, skills, and then you need to sell yourself on that LinkedIn profile. So for example, Agentic AI machine learning enthusiast, or I'll keep enthusiast is if you have time. I wouldn't, I'm not very particular keen of enthusiast. I want someone who's actually done it. So maybe change accordingly what you feel is comfortable. I've just given you some options as well. Building autonomous systems for real world impact using Agentic AI frameworks. AWS certified, Azure certified, Google certified, whatever certifications you have, write down and a hook very very compelling to grab attention. So this is in about section with these many experience of number of experience in agentic AI, generative AI. I've specialized in building agentic AI systems, creating multi-agent frameworks or workflows and self-learning models. I'm experienced in LangChain or Bedrock or SageMaker or OpenAI or whatever or LangGraph and so on building AI or I build AI driven solutions. So this is LinkedIn. I have no way of form or way Ahmed. I'm not associated. I've not worked with him. So I just wanted to with all. I just happened to I was searching for some project manager, AI program manager, and I wanted to show a training we are building for in before and after. This is an example of before. Now this is good, but now AI is missing on here. This is it's kind of an underutilization. I've not used my this thing very, very carefully. Also, from footer or background image looks average, doesn't grab my attention. Again, by with all due respect, I said I've just picked up Ahmed just it's because I don't know how it came on my search. So this is where it's very simple shift. We give you these templates. If you're a project manager, let's say write down someone looking at project management board and looking at and I'm certified in AI from a PMI Institute or maybe a Microsoft certified AI transformational leader. On that leadership program, I said, remember, I said at the start, if you're a manager, product manager, leader, we give you that. So, or maybe a certification, some certification doesn't need to be like this. So change that immediately grabs my attention. Looks like the guy knows about it. And then I've not even covered these points. I've just put a very small change on image on here. So give you whole review, and we give you all the prompts, as well as you come to our tool, which will give you and say, how do I change my, these are kind of a job roles I'm saving. You give, and then it'll give you what to write on this section, or headline section we call, or about section, and so on. So this is an example of, that's number one. Then once your LinkedIn is profile is I believe and trust, you need to start building authority. And what I mean building authority is, I'll give you the story. I was 2005, I transitioned to as an security or identity and access management. And then out of my first 4 years were very painful. I joined a team with the database administrators, and there were tons and tons of guys who were very experienced. And I used to really crave for information. They used to, I don't know why, they maybe ignore me or something, because I was very young at the time. And there was a little bit unhealthy competition. Was they were thinking, if I learn, I might take their job. I don't know what was the reason, or maybe they didn't think I was qualified enough, or was very hungry, eager to learn, and Google was not there. So as to started writing the content, and when I started writing the content, people started reaching out to me. I got my first book writing assignment. When I started my consulting company, I got tons and tons of work from that. These days I get lots and lots of work from these assignments, and I tell to my stories these things to my clients, and that's what I started writing. And they start reaching out and telling me that yes, they've to, some guys have to literally stop and telling that, oh, I'm not looking for work anymore. So this is an example of Eddie. So you're not writing as I'm learning this, you're writing as an authority that you are implementing these things as you learn and implement these things. So AI production ready, fully serverless chatbot. This is excited to um, share my architecture behind AI powered appointment booking system. And you get these things inside this. Uh, Anmol, this is another example of Anmol on AI doesn't replace judgment, it scales. And then she's actually sharing her and showing her authority. And what happens is then it grabs attention of recruiters, employers looking for this change, and LinkedIn will start suggesting. And that's what happens. This is another example of what you do. And I'll tell you reason why it will be helpful. So we do some labs, or every project we do, we tell you how to write content around that. So not write, oh, I learned a billing and finance, or how to do the bills, but actually like, oh, I this is an example of Eddie. Today, one of my clients reached out to me. They had a billing challenge, and this is what I did to solve the billing problem. And this is what you should be looking. Now, if you go to a employer who is facing the financial billing issue and they see this, they know, or you've done it for others. This is just one very small example of, maybe you've done a scaling of you've shared your learnings about scaling an agentic based solution and what are the challenges they come. Now, a lot of companies face this. Security, what are the challenges someone is facing, or face the security challenges, and this is what you should be looking, and so on. These are kind of things you should be writing regularly when you, because if you follow the resume preparation I'm talking about, the your employer will immediately think, oh, it sounds too good to be true. Something is wrong. What is that? They'll start finding out, or start thinking that manner. But when they go and come to your LinkedIn, because they want to verify, they will come to LinkedIn, and for last 2-3 months you posted content like this, they see, wow, yes, I know, or looks like this guy actually knows about it. Build your authority. And if you do it continuously over 1 to 3 years period, I can trust you, there'll be so much work, then you'll start telling, no, I don't need enough work. So this is an example of Jesse. Just after posting my recent project, so we guide and say how to post building a customer support agentic AI RAG system. On LinkedIn, I received a message from a recruiter for an opportunity for AI engineer role. Now, this not every opportunity will be available, or you may not get a job. This is just giving you that recruiters will start reaching out to you. So posting on LinkedIn about my work gave me a chance to, at least, I don't know whether I'll be getting an interview call or not, but at least give me a chance. That's important. Michael from UK. I did my homework and updated my LinkedIn profile. And I must admit that as soon as I did that, I got lots of email for job prospect. Another here from US is Prasad. I got a call from a great company after changing my LinkedIn and resume. TCS and Full Stack are offering 250K, $250K, and I need help on interview preparation. That's the power of this. So I'm telling all these things and sharing these wins are because, or results, because then you trust the process and follow the process. A lot of guys don't follow the process. So um, they say success leaves clue. I've already mentioned Amol, so I have tons and tons of guys like that. I don't want to repeat and bore you. So I'm 100. So just pause this video for a minute or for a sec. If you do this, will you get interview calls or not? So to thinking about it in a minute, because that was a game changer. I was working as a freelancer since 2005 till 2012. I started my consulting company. I got tons and tons of work like that. And once we started getting consulting, I had to feed my big team of consulting. That's how I started got tons of work as well. So that's step number two, is optimizing, getting from no interview call to multiple interview calls. You follow resume, LinkedIn, and you have to do it consistently and repeat. That takes me to the third part of this video, lengthy video, but very, very powerful. I hope if you're enjoying this, make sure you save it for future, share it with a friend of yours, because we learn together in community as a group. Um, Third thing is then so save it and then maybe give a like, share on this video if you're watching this on YouTube or some other channel. So once you get interview calls, your next journey should be from no job offer to multiple job offers, and that's where the mock interviews comes into picture. Now, as I said in the link, I think katonacademy.com/agentic AI 01. I think that's a URL correct, right? But we'll link it below the video as well. Now, just to say thank you. Now we constantly update this. So if you've downloaded it a couple of months back, we are completely revised. And as new questions come, these are actual questions when we interview some of them, and some things which we have, as I said, a lot of freelancers who come and interview. I go and interview now on a lot of interview panels. So interview these guys, or we have other resources from each country like US, Canada, UK, Europe, Singapore. As far as Australia, a lot of guys from Australia, or India, plenty of from India, or Middle East. So based on what questions are coming on the job description, we give that. So take an example. I'm going to read some things, but download that copy so that you can prepare for this. So first is about, again, based on the job role, Agentic AI. Now, you should not be, oh, what is RAG or LangChain or this or that. No, you should be realistic, and they want to know, have you solved these problems? Later, you will see star method. So they'll put you in a situation, or do a task based, or so these are the things. For example, can you walk me through how would you design an architecture for an agentic AI solution that needs to handle large scale user interactions and sensitive data? Very, very important key. So make sure that you'll get some of these questions you'll always give. Imagine you have to build an agentic system for a healthcare provider, or maybe a legal provider, or maybe depending on supply chain management, depending on banking, and so on. How would you approach designating this decision from a logic to ensure both accuracy as well as privacy? Expect some questions from security and scalability, and then real world examples. They want to say, hey, can you describe a time? This is very, very important, because they want to see, describe a time when you would choose between different AI architectures, or what factors did you consider and how did you make the decision? So these are more design related, architecture related questions. Similarly, another question might be on, can you, hey, walk us through a cloud, walk us through a scenario where you architect end-to-end systems on AWS cloud or Azure cloud. Now again, if you've not done it, prepare these at least on, say, how would I design these systems, and experience. Based on experience, when deciding between a pre-built model like GPT-4 or developing custom model for a specific agentic AI tools, what factors you'll be doing? Do you want to develop your own model? And if yes, why? And if not, why not? Or not? Why not to develop? Or maybe fine tune and pick up the small language model. This is just an example of I'm talking about. And like that, uh, pick something for developers. Leadership roles. So, for example, in leadership roles, in your experience, how do you ensure alignment between AI architecture and business objectives? So download that. I'm going to create a separate video. When you download, I'm going to send, and we'll cover some of these questions over a period of time on, and I want to make sure that video is short and tied to the point. Make sure you download, and we'll go these questions over a period of time on that as soon as you download that video and cover. Now, with that, it's very, very not only technical. Some big companies also want to check your soft skills, cultural fit or not. So and especially if you're going more senior or mid-level, which a lot of you guys are watching this, or if you're a junior developer, less so, but still very, very important, especially from HR point of view. What are the key challenges organization face when adopting agentic AI? This is more leadership kind of a roles, or manager roles, or architect roles as well. And how do you address these challenges in your past project? Now, can you describe a situation where you balance competing priorities? Because there will always be competing priorities. Is one team is saying, "Oh, want to quickly do it." Security team will say secure, or architecture team wants to say, make sure that architecture is future proof. There are all the frameworks are there. Developer want to develop, testers who have lots of issues will be raising. So how do you work with and ensure outcome while maintaining alignments? So like that, there are tons of questions on for developer roles on how would you design so problem solving. So can you describe and implement a version control in AI? This is for developers. How do you do the version control for AI models? How do you maintain the data? And if you've done fine tuning and training a model, how do you make sure that data, model, and the actual code are more aligned as well? So from an agentic AI or long-term maintainability point of view, or uh, describe how you've done a multi-agent workflow in the context of agent orchestration. Can you give me an example on using the frameworks? And again, if they are having their own frameworks, maybe study one or two things on from framework, or you can always say, hey, I've not done that framework, but if I have to do, I've done this. I'm a quick learner, I can implement. So these are some questions from a developer point of view. Like that, there's an architecture you'll see. Make sure go to the URL and link should be there or below this. So I think yeah, I mentioned go back and listen to that again. So again, a lot of these companies, this is very common these days now, especially architect or anything from 6, 7 years or higher, especially big companies, star method, situation, task, actions, and the results that you got. So underpin the answers when you get the questions in advance. We give you a list of all the questions that you can expect based on the job description you're applying or the resume that you've built on. And again, don't I'm not guaranteeing you, but based on the feedback we've got from our clients, almost 40 to 50% of questions are on the similar lines as well. So we give you prepare weekly mock interviews, and you can come and attend as many mock interviews as you would like to. Give us a little bit of notice and work with us on say, hey, this is my interview preparation interview, and this is the day we'll do the mock interviews for you. So in the simple terms, if I have to do it again and I want to learn job quickly, I learn some basics, understanding terminologies or the job role, and then go and see what jobs are available and look at prepare my resume aligned as per the job description and make myself a promise I'm going to learn quickly. And that's what is on that time between 1 to 3 days. You may not be able to understand or do implement everything, but you will learn a lot on that 2 3 days of interview preparation. And then go into the interview. Even if you fail, that's totally fine. And first 3, 4, 5, 6 interviews you'll fail, that's totally fine. But you learn a ton about the gaps, what employers are looking, and so on. And then apply. And then first, and you'll be nervous on first 3, 4 interviews. Maybe if you've done the mock interviews with us, you'll work and you'll be able to get answers or a little bit better. By fifth or sixth, seventh interview, I can guarantee you will start gaining confidence. You'll be going and next round and next round, next round, and then you start getting or clearing the interviews one round after another, one round, another round. So that's what we implement. That's what we suggest, and say finally you'll get hired and have hundreds of results you'll see in a minute. Shrija joined Keaton Academy on August 2024 within a dilemma on uncertainty as I was transitioning from DevOps to AI ML. MLOps AI ML was completely unknown for me. I've decided no idea how to overcome these challenges. And within same structured method which I've shared about is about resume building, LinkedIn profile, customization, sharing insights on AI ML model tools, concepts, again sharing that on LinkedIn. Practical work, these strategies suggested by Keaton Academy played a huge role in attracting recruiters. So if you're looking for transitioning or learning into AML or new anything, structure, follow the structure videos, assignments, build profile strategies. Navjeev, offer letter within 3 months. I joined Ketongami June, received my offer letter in September. Now again, please don't, I'm not promising, I'm just showcasing what people have done it, and it's possible if you follow the and if you implement, very, very important. Eunice, I've attended 3 interviews. First company interview was flop. Second and third interview went very well. I'm expecting offers from both the companies by end of this. Atisha is from my team. Sorry, this is I think Oksana or someone who recently eventually got a job. And just wanted to thank you for last mock interview. I passed my technical interview, waiting for the final one. I just wanted to say thank you and guidance. Now, it's not about you'll get a job or not. It's when you get a job or once you get a job, which you'll get. We don't stop there. Your actual journey begins when you get job. So you get job support as well. So when I mean by job support is anything that you need to help, which will be on job. Because what happens is for us, it's a win-win. We take those things that you're asking in the project and then we incorporate in the program and then we bring and showcase that for others. Of course, you hide your all uh, sensitive information or client information, but bring the use cases, and that's being added into the program as for someone implementing or learning. Those use cases can then be later by used by others to showcase in your projects. And that's how you learn and become confidence. So this Srinivas, one client of very old client of ours, I got all the confidence in attending sessions and then allowed me, he's running a project of 30 million, multi-million dollar project and team of 30. So not only answering his own clients, but also his team answering the questions for team as well. So this is overall three-step framework becoming from going from beginner to becoming an expert to LinkedIn to resume to then tech interviews, both tech, behavioral, depending on what kind of interview or role you're doing, change it. Just copy paste and this in order to get uh, now again, one of the question people get is, oh, do I immediately get 300,000? It'll again depend on country to country and where you're doing from 100,000 to maybe aim towards 170, 80. 180, if you're on that range, maybe go 200, 250, 230 and so on. Now, if you want us to work, we only, we select and handpick because everything that I'm going to cover, I want to make sure that you get a result. Last year, we had around 93%. Oh, 2024, we had a 93% success rate. We got 95% success rate in 2025. This year, I have to up the game and go double down on that or maybe improve that. So if you're interested on how we can work together, just look at this below this video. There's a link on go to this URL. There'll be a form to fill date and time. Select the date and time. You'll be working so that we can see if you're right fit, we can help you and how we can help you and how quickly we can help you. So you'll be answering some sort of questions. Make sure that you fill best of this application. Again, if you don't see enough information, right information, we might reject that application. So please don't get offended. Resubmit it with the proper documents, not documents, proper fields so that, and if you're not right fit, we'll tell you as well, or we'll guide you and say what you should be doing. So make sure that you put your LinkedIn profile, very, very important to understand and help you and give you the strategy as well, what you should be doing. And then you can take a call if you to work with us or not, if you're right fit for the program. So URL is below the video. Now this is how to wrap it up with some final thoughts on what people are saying. I know video's gone longer and then initially anticipated, but trust me, I wanted to make sure that I give you everything. Don't hold up anything that I have. And apart from that, if you need any other help, leave the comment section, share with your friends, colleagues, and then tell me what questions you have so I can give that information to you. So I don't want to hold any information because information is commodity. Implementation, accountability, and making sure that your speed is the key now. So what some of our clients say is these are all Trustpilot reviews, Salim, and saying, hey, Atul and team, this is the best experience. Teachers, they're the best. And even if you're a beginner, well, even for beginners. You have Oksana. I've seen, I think you might have seen one of her result earlier. Provide a great program, support at every stage. If you follow all the steps, and you'll definitely get a job. That's how people are confident. Excellent communications, professional, very helpful. So Joshua, again, Trustpilot Kino Academy has a vast amount of resources that will help. So curriculum is job focus. Experienced instructors, good support system. Honey John, I think she was 40 plus, was skeptical about paying for the program. Someone like me who decided to change career at her 40s. That too entirely from a different domain. It's scary. So if you're a beginner, we'll give you a little bit different path. If you're immediate, you'll intermediate, we'll give you a different path. If you are someone who's looking for a job change quickly, we'll give you a different path. So the path will be customized for you. So, so these are things and results you can expect. So I hope that's pretty much from my side. If you're interested to work with us too, and if I go back and quickly recap, as I said, so two options to work with us, and this is the follow steps that you should be following with us. With that, this is Atul from Team Kito Academy. This is the whole thing from a three-step framework, and these are two options that you can work with us, or don't need to work with us. Take this, implement it, and if you get, just come up and say thumbs up. Remember, I was the guy, and in future, and that's how we built trust. That's how we bought and done 46,000 plus. For me, trust, and then majority of my clients are repeat clients. They've done program 2 3 years later, they come back, or next year they come back again for something else, and they refer others. That's the whole objective. So with that, the thing that you should be following, as I said, let me go back and say this is what you should be following, but do the project. Very, very important. All the best and good luck. Thank you.